Let's explore what TypeScript adds to classes. So if you're unfamiliar with classes or want to learn more, you can read about classes from the MDN web documentation. So the reason why you might not see classes a lot is because in all the hot front-end JavaScript frameworks we use functional programming and we really don't use classes. So for example, React is a popular one, Svelte, Vue, etc. Angular is the only exception because it uses classes, right? But the interesting thing is that I see classes a lot being used by libraries. So yeah, I really don't see the point where people constantly argue over if classes are bad and etc., where it really doesn't matter. As I always say, use what makes you productive, right? And another interesting thing is that, as I said about libraries, for example, in Svelte we really don't use classes, but Svelte under the hood at the end of the day compiles JavaScript to classes, which is really interesting. But yeah, welcome to my TED Talk. Let's get to learning about classes, right? So we're going to first learn about the read-only member, which prevents assignment to the field outside of the constructor. So we can create class Pokemon. So we can use the keyword read-only. We're going to have a name string. So this is how we also specify the property in TypeScript, which this is kind of a weird syntax to me because we have to specify this in two places, so it's really weird. But we can also look in a bit how we can shorten this syntax in a sweet way. So yeah, we have a basic class, so we can say const Pokemon. Then we can say new Pokemon. I guess what I'm trying to say is that classes are way more verbose, but yeah, whatever you prefer, right? So we should get an error if we try to change it actually. So Pikachu, so let's say Charizard, but it doesn't really matter because cannot assign to name because it is a read-only property. So that is the read-only member. So let's look at the public member, and this is by default. So if we remove read-only, everything should be fine, but we can be explicit and say public. But if you're new to classes or wondering when you should use public, etc., I think by default it's best to make it private so you don't expose it to the outside so it can be changed. And then whatever needs to be changed, right, make it public and etc. And we're going to look at private in a second. But first let's talk about protected, which is a member and it's only visible to subclasses or the class it's declared in. So we can change public to protected, and the rest of this, let me just remove this. We can create class log Pokemon. We can say it extends Pokemon. It has a public method log Pokemon, right? Because this is the only way we can use it. And you can say console log this name. And then let's create a Pokemon again. You can say Pokemon new. This time we're going to use log Pokemon. We're going to pass in Pikachu. This time when we say Pokemon name, we should get an error. If we hover over, we can see property name is protected and only accessible within class Pokemon and its subclasses. And then as I have it here, if we go and say Pokemon, if we say log Pokemon, everything is fine. And we can of course run it. So let me just do this. And let me just see what is the error. Oh yeah, because we should just comment it out. But yeah, if I go here, yeah, let's rerun it and awesome. So now we can look at the private member, which is like protected but doesn't allow access to the member even from subclasses. So let me just go here, then let's go change protected to private. The rest of the examples is the same. So now we have class log Pokemon extends Pokemon. We have public log Pokemon. And this time, if we look here, this name, property name is private and only accessible within class Pokemon. So we really can't access this outside the Pokemon class. One awesome thing about classes in TypeScript is that it's less verbose because TypeScript uses a shorter syntax for declaring a class property from the constructor using what's called parameter properties, which are prefixed by public, private, protected, or read-only keywords. So we can say class Pokemon. And this is how we do it in the past, right? So we would say name string, public by default, right? We can say constructor name, we would give it a type like this. You can say this name is name, but there's a shorter method. So we can use parameter properties, we can say class Pokemon. And now instead of doing all of that nonsense, you can just say public name string. And no body is necessary. So these two examples are equivalent, and we can even remove this, and yeah, there you go. So let's look at how we can implement an interface using the implements keyword. So for example, let's say we have an interface and we can say log Pokemon method, doesn't return anything. Now we can create a class Pokemon. We can say implements log Pokemon. Yeah, and then we have a constructor. We can use our new trick. say name string. Yeah, and then let's create a method log Pokemon. And again, I have this weird autocomplete. It's like spooky. Look at this. Log Pokemon. Like, what the heck is this? I'm trying to do a tutorial here, editor. It's like GitHub Copilot. It's so crazy, right? Yeah, and then we can say console log this name. And then we can even create a class Pokédex, for example. We can say implements log Pokemon. And now if we hover over Pokédex, we can see it complains class Pokédex incorrectly implements interface log Pokemon because property log Pokemon is missing in type Pokédex but required in type log Pokemon. So let's look at how we can type a generic class. So for example, if I go here, let me just remove this example, we can say class Pokemon, and it's really similar to an interface. And I guess classes are objects anyhow, so it makes sense, it's really that similar. So you can say constructor, say public Pokemon, we're going to pass this generic right here. And then if I say const Pokemon string, new Pokemon, and then we can say it's Pikachu, and if we hover over, we can see that it inferred that this is a string, right? So we can go here and not take this with us. We can say const Pokemon. We can say new Pokemon, and now pass it an array of Pokemon. We can say Bulbasaur, Charmander, we can even say Squirtle. Yeah, and of course typing is hard, but if we go here and hover over Pokemon array, we can see that it inferred it as an array of strings. So another cool about TypeScript is it introduces the concept of abstract classes. And if I scroll down here to look at an example, so basically an abstract class is just a contract used by other classes to extend from. The abstract class doesn't contain implementation and can be instantiated. So we can do that by creating an abstract class Pokemon. Then we're going to have a constructor. It's going to have a name. It's going to be a string, and then it's going to have a method. So we say abstract use item, which is going to be a string, and it returns nothing. So we say void. And then we can create a class fire Pokemon, which extends Pokemon, and now it's going to complain because we didn't satisfy the contract, right? So it's going to say non-abstract class fire Pokemon does not implement inherited abstract member use item from class Pokemon. Yeah, so let's fix that. We can say use item, and again this crazy auto-completion. Editor, stop. Item string, yeah, and then we can say console log, and then we can use our curly boys. We can say this name use, just copy over this emoji, yeah, use item, and then we can create a Pokemon. We can say Charizard, new fire Pokemon, Charizard, and we can say the Charizard used item potion. Yeah, so now we can go here and let's log it out. We should say the Charizard use potion. This was more of a speedrun of classes in TypeScript, and there's a lot more to learn if you go read the documentation. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So catch you in the next one.